We are in my dining room, which can only mean one thing. I am about to tackle a last minute out of my depth sewing project to take on vacation with me. I have been planning on making the Trailblazer convertible backpack for a good long time now, definitely months. I bought all these materials and the pattern from Etsy a while back. I haven't started. Like, you know me by now. I'm fascinated by sewing. I love to watch sewing on YouTube. I love to collect vintage sewing supplies and notions and things, but I'm not particularly practiced at it and tend to get frustrated. So I have been putting it off, which is a really bad thing because this looks like a pretty complicated pattern to me. Maybe it won't be, maybe it'll be pretty straightforward, but there's a lot of pockets and zippers and grommets and all sorts of hardware and bits and pieces that need to come together. I purposefully bought this with the intent to take it on my vacation, which starts in a week and a half. Now, a week and a half might seem like a long time to be able to make something like this. Maybe it doesn't, I don't know. To me, it should be a long time because 4 days of that week and a half are weekend days. But it's summer, so I'm fully booked. We are taking weekend trips both weekends to go, to baseball games and yarn stores around New York State. What else would I do? I'm basically relegated to working on this complicated project that I'm nervous to tackle in my free time after work and before weekend festivities. So I already cut out all the pieces. It was very, very straightforward to cut out. Basically every piece is like rectangle or trapezoid. We just got a bunch of quadrilaterals. I brought down all the supplies I bought. I do remember when I bought all the supplies, the materials list requires a lot of hardware, most of which I got from Amazon. A bunch of zippers, other types of zippers, magnetic snaps. These fabrics I bought both from Joann. I got some of the interfacing. It called for a bunch of different cuts of different types of interfacing, which I found to be like weirdly cost prohibitive once I looked into like actually purchasing all of these different types of interfacing just to use a small quantity of it. So I did buy this one because this like thick, it's got that polyester feeling that makes my skin crawl. You know the feeling of like nylon stockings? Like it makes me want to, skin my hands. I hate it. Anyway, this stuff, which I don't know how I'm gonna sew with it because I don't want to look at it. Whatever. It's like thick. It's like a 1/2 inch thick foam interfacing, and I did have interfacing in my stash already, different types. So I'm gonna fudge it. This is a very sturdy base fabric that I chose, and I don't think, famous last words, that the 20 types of interfacing that are called for in the pattern can make that much of a difference that I really need to have that many varieties. So, characteristically, I know this project is probably over my head. I know I don't have enough time to finish it for my deadline. I know I'm going to get frustrated and run out of time. So I'm cutting corners and making changes. Today is Friday afternoon after work. Tomorrow we are off in Rochester filming the Rochester Yarn Trail video and going to a ball game. Not coming back till Sunday. So I'm going to do what I can tonight. Certainly cut out all the pieces. Read through the instructions to see where I need to go, and hopefully I'll be able to just like find time before and after my never-ending activities and work days to be able to finish this bag. I already hit a snag so much sooner than I thought I did. First of all, the way that they labeled these is really rather confusing. None of the pieces have like numbers or letters or anything. They all just have the label of what they are, but they all sound very similar. So there's 18 pieces listed here, and they're all named things like exterior top panel, exterior middle panel, exterior bottom panel, side panel, lining panel, front flap zipper pocket lining, back zipper pocket lining, back slip pocket panel. It's just, I understand that those are labeling what they actually are, but they're also just reusing the same words over and over again in a way that, as a novice, it's very confusing. So I numbered them on this sheet. There's 18 pieces. First of all, I don't have 18 pieces. So I think I'm missing parts of the pattern. Maybe the printer ran out of paper and I didn't notice that it left off the last couple pages, so I'll have to check that. But also, like, I have 2 pieces here that the label on here doesn't exactly match the label on the list, and I don't actually know which one it's supposed to be. So I guess I'm gonna try to find the missing pieces and then I can try to rule it out. Okay, I figured it out. It's silly. Once I looked into the instructions, I'm not missing pages. I sorted out the ones that I couldn't find the number for. I figured them out. And then there is a list in the instructions, which are listed on this thing here as if they're pattern pieces, but they're not pattern pieces. That because they're rectangles, and it would be stupid, presumably, like for the straps, it's like a very long, skinny strap. It would be a waste of paper when they can just tell you, like, it's these measurements, cut a big rectangle. So there's a bunch of rectangles that are just measurements in addition to these pieces that I need to cut out. So I figured it out. I have all the parts. I did intend to read the instructions before I started, but do I ever? Actually, I'm going to read a little bit to find out about seam allowances. Then I'm going to cut. Thank you. 3/8 unless otherwise stated. Well, where is it stated? Girl, where do you state the seam allowance? Oh no, it's in the instructions. I do have to read. I have to assume that they're included because it like mentions the seam allowances and they're different in the instructions, but they're not marked on any of the pattern pieces. So they have to be included. If they're not, I guess I'm just making like a slightly smaller bet. I just realized that the pattern is referring to a lining fabric as well as the exterior and contrast fabrics. And I remembered that I chose not to purchase a lining fabric because I have a lot of like quilting weight cottons, which is what it specified, in my stash. I pulled out this a very basic plain print. I've had it forever. I swear I've had this since like high school. I'm gonna use this for the lining. It's a very barely off-white background with white leaf print. This is a ridiculous amount of pieces. I've never even remotely made anything that used nearly this many pieces. It's insane. There is one thing that I did intend to purchase that I forgot, and it is stabilizer, which I think is important. I believe it's for the base. So I am going to try to pick that up, but there's only a couple small pieces that need that, and I am so exhausted from doing this. There's no way I'm going to sew tonight anyway. I'm going to put all this away and go eat dinner and do some of the sewing in the morning, depending on if I need the stabilizer first thing or not. Good morning. I have about an hour, a little over an hour, until we need to leave for Rochester. So I was looking at my instructions here for the bag, and as I expected, the first like 10 steps or so are all about fusing the interfacing, because I cut many interfacing to the corresponding piece. So I have a feeling today all I'm going to do is get around to a bunch of ironing and pressing interfacing to these many pieces that I cut out. Like, can you even see? It's insane. Hundreds, probably. I didn't count. So I'm just basically going to iron all morning before we leave. All right, all of my interfacing is fused, quite a stack. I did have a debacle in the middle where I accidentally melted some interfacing to my iron and I had to like stop and clean the iron in the middle. Everything that needs to have interfacing is now interfaced. and it's just about time for me to go. So I guess that's the only task I'll get to today. Hi, it's been a few days. It's Wednesday evening now. I worked all day, but I have to work every day. I haven't worked on my sewing project at all since Saturday when I fused all the fusible interfacing on. I don't think this needs a ton of preamble. I'm gonna start sewing today and see how far I get. I did forget to mention that when I was filming my fiber trail video for the Rochester region, one of the stores I stopped at was mainly a quilting shop, and I got some of the stabilizer that I needed that I had failed to get the first time around. This is the kind of exciting part where I can see parts start to take shape, and sewing is kind of gratifying. So I've got some straps. They're not particularly tidy. My stitching isn't great, but they're definitely straps. You can't mistake them. And then I did a bunch of these little D-ring doohickeys. D-ring doohickeys. D-ring doohickeys. Why can't I say that? Absolutely the most challenging part of this pattern so far has been trying to tell apart the pieces. Like I predicted when I was cutting them out, they have such similar names. And I know that the names mean something specific, but when I'm reading a sentence like, on the right side of the exterior flap, pin the top long edge of the front flap zipper pocket lining panel matching top raw edges of the exterior flap and front flap zipper pocket lining panel. It feels like Dr. Seuss. It's just like, it would be so much easier if they were like, pin the right side of piece 3 to the right side of piece 6. It makes it like a tongue twister and a riddle, and so much more confusing than it has to be. So it's fun to watch it come together. I have been fighting with my machine a little. I had issues with tension for a while that I managed to solve, and then I had issues with needle breaking for a while. Over and over and over, I broke like a bunch in a row. But I solved those, and I've been moving forward, and like I have the whole front panel, and it like looks like a purse. Like my seams are bad. Like I'm not good at sewing, but I'm learning, and it's really fun to watch it come together. Like it looks like a purse. It has pockets with zippers and with flaps and magnetic closures, and obviously the edges are raw because it's just one panel, but I made this. Some of this is truly just so fiddly. Trying to pin this in without this little lip of white lining showing. That took way too long, but I think this is as good as it's gonna get on the ends. I really just can't disguise it. But the rest looks okay. Well, let's see how it looks after I actually seam it though. All right, well, it's far from professional and it's pretty uneven, but it's a busy pattern and I did it. I've just got to be done today. I've been doing this for hours and hours now and I'm tired. It's only Wednesday. I still have a week to finish, and I did accomplish a lot. Like I showed, I have the full front panel. It's hard to see, but this is a pocket that snaps open, a big pocket. It's got magnetic clasps on it, and then this is a small zipper pocket. So that's exciting. And then I also finished the back panel. Similarly, the edges are still unfinished because it still has to be connected, but this one is a large, just kind of like open, and then another small zipper pocket. And this one's got a little D-ring hook on it because it's a convertible backpack. So I've still got a lot of pieces left. Let me show you. These are all the pieces of the sides and the bottom of the bag, and a lot of it is the heavy foam that's gonna help give it structure, and of course the straps and the D-rings and everything haven't been connected, but I think I'm like halfway through. So even though I'm exhausted, I got a lot done. I'm very pleased with where I'm leaving off today. I'm very pleased that I sat down to do sewing, and I did a lot of sewing, and I didn't do a lot of fighting with my sewing machine. I did a little, definitely, but the majority of the time I spent actually being productive and moving forward in the process of making the bag. So that's really gratifying, and it's, you know, chalk another one up to sewing, like it's winning me over with this. So I'm gonna turn in for the night and see you later this week, hopefully, to finish up the rest of the bag. Yesterday ended up being such a productive and fun sewing day. I'm always surprised when I have fun sewing, but I feel like it's been happening more and more. I mean, not that I sew very often. I feel like I did a couple projects last year and a couple this year, but that's pretty much the pace that I keep with sewing. And as my sewing habits go, a lot of my more recent projects have been more fun and I'm enjoying it. So maybe I'll be doing more sewing than normal in the future. But yesterday I had fun. I'm hoping today is kind of the same pace and productivity and enjoyment. So back to it. I am having so much trouble. I had another fight with my sewing machine. It's breaking needles. It's purely because there's too many layers of fabric for this. I'm adding this tab, which is stabilizer and interfacing, and it's 4 thick. I mean, and cotton fabric, and it's 4 thick on top of the suede interfacing foam liner. So it's like a lot to go through. It's really, really struggling. I know that that's the problem because I've been successfully doing like little test strips after I rethread my bobbin or my thread or replace the needle or whatever, and it's always doing the test strips fine. What's really frustrating is that this is the second of 2, and the first one went on super easy with no issue whatsoever. It was attached. It took me 30 seconds, and then I've been doing this one for like 10 minutes, and I can't get it. I've broken like 4 needles on it. I keep having, the thread has broken a couple times. I can't sew around this tiny little like 5-inch seam circumference just to attach this stupid little tab. Like, sewing heard me say that I'm having fun, and they were like, just you wait. Whatever, I'm gonna get it. It's a small part. I'm fine. It's a small part and I'm gonna fix it. Like, it's not even sewing. It's not doing anything. It's not attached. What the heck? It's working. It's threaded. It did it again. Like, what? It did like partially attach it this time, but like it didn't. Nope. It's closer. Like, it's still not working. It's doing this. The stitches aren't connecting. It's like some of them are, but then there are these big, huge stitches. See, this is the trial and error element of knitting. Freudian slip. I wish I was knitting. This is the trial and error element of sewing that is so frustrating because as a beginner, I have very little like knowledge to draw on, and I don't know what to do. And sometimes Googling it helps. No, it did it again. Oh, right, I'm gonna Google it. All right, we Googled it, and it's like maybe your needle is bent. I'm just gonna throw that out. I got a bazillion, like I bought a ton of needles from Amazon for cheap. Because sometimes I go through them like this. This is it. It's gonna work. Because truly, I don't know. several spots here where it skipped a couple. I feel like I'm just gonna leave it. It's sewing everything else fine. It just can't handle this thickness. And I'm driving myself crazy trying to do it. It is very firmly on now. It just missed a couple stitches along the edge. I'm gonna leave it. I finally got to something a little different. It wants me to, I'll flip up these, punch a hole right through the middle of this section and this, and put rivets in, which I haven't done before, but I got this set off of Amazon, so hopefully it's not the worst thing. Definitely test on test fabric first. I think this little tool is just not wide enough. If I like shift it around. Here we go. We put one end in that, and one end is kind of like cupped here, and then I need a hammer. I'm gonna go get a hammer. Desk. Oh, that's so fun. I literally almost said riveting. I'm not gonna lie. That is fascinating to me. I guess that's kind of a pun too. That's so cool. It worked. Let's do that on my bag. Look at this. Isn't this stinking cute? This is like, it's an all for all intents and purposes. God, I am on a roll with these stupid puns. For all intents and purposes, it's an all, and that's what I've been using it for. But my aunt, who's a paper crafter, made it for me. She makes them, and paper crafters apparently use the much more technical term pokey tool. But it's a little paw print and a yarn skein because it's mine. Let's do this. Poke. Ooh, this one's harder to poke than just 2 layers of the fabric. This is like a bazillion layers of fabric. I gotta get all stabby again to make it really work. And get that on and make a lot of noise. Oh no, I bent it. Okay, well that's a thing you can do. All right, let's try that again. Yeah, that's it. Ooh, fun. All right, now I gotta do that 4 more times. This panel is cursed. The same frickin' panel that fought my sewing machine and was so difficult and I barely got out is cursed. I just wasted 10 of these grommets. They keep going crooked just on this panel. I did 5 grommets before this on the other panels, and I only had 1 go crooked. I've wasted so many. You can see the hole is like gaping now because I've done a bunch. You can see both holes here because I've tried both of them. They just keep going crooked. I don't understand it. This was going perfectly fine on the other panels. This one's cursed. Okay, I just decided to use the medium-sized grommets. I used the large on the front and back of the bag, but I was running out of the large trying to get this to work. And I just tried the medium on a whim, and they both went in on the first shot. So I'm just going to use the medium on the sides. Okay, this could be really cool or really heartbreaking. But we're about to do a magic trick. Bag. I did this. Obviously it's not done. I have to top stitch the bottom of that pocket that I just turned it inside out from. but I made this. This is why I sew. I forget. I get all frustrated and I get mad and then I don't want to do it anymore. But this is a high, dude. Like I can't believe I made this. Holy crap. Okay, my sad little amateur brain got really excited when I saw how the bag was coming out and didn't anticipate that I would have to top stitch around the top edge, which ended up being one of the more tedious battles of this project. It helped that I was already so close to the end because I'm very excited and it drove me to finish. But I did top stitch around the entire thing very poorly and then have to rip it out, which took 10 times longer than actually stitching it. And then tried to fix it and had a few false starts where I had to pick out a few inches of stitching at a time, but then I finally got it together. It's not perfect, but it's barely visible from the outside, which is the nature of this nice suede fabric. Much of what you can see is probably just a little scarring that hasn't healed yet from my picked out ones. And then on the inside, it doesn't look great. It's kind of uneven, but it's the inside, and honestly, I'm not going to be able to bring myself to do it again. It looks good on the outside. The inside's not terrible. It's just not super even. And there's parts where, like, look, a little bubble. There's parts on this side where it, like, kind of doesn't catch the lining. I don't care. It's the inside. It's functional. It's not going to come apart. And the zipper opens and closes. And that's good enough. So let me figure out these straps now. I did it. I will show you the straps that I just made, 2 adjustable straps, which is really cool. And I've never made this kind of thing before, so even though they're kind of shoddy stitching, it's kind of polished looking to me. I am very sweaty and very exhausted, so I think I will wait until tomorrow to show you the reveal. Honestly, I am so proud of this project. I truly think that this is the most complex and the most interesting sewing project that I've ever done, and I'm so proud to have completed it. Maybe somebody who doesn't sew might not realize that it's homemade. I think anybody who does sew, if they look a little closely, will know right away. The most glaring problem that I can see with it that I wish was different is the lining, especially right around this front zipper, is peeping through. So there's barely any white visible on the outside, except for this front and center stark white line around the edge of the zipper and a little bit that peeks up from under the flap. There's a little bit visible in this corner from where the zipper doesn't close, but other than that, you can't really see the white lining. It looks great. Like I said, I'm immensely proud of this. I can't believe that I made it. This has absolutely sparked new joy for sewing and makes me want to do more sewing. And I'm incredibly excited that I finished it more than a week before I actually leave for vacation. So now I have plenty of time to wrap up my other 2 projects, which are both crochet and sewing elements. Those are both at least 85% done, so I don't have a ton more work to do. And now that this one's finished super early, I'll have plenty of time to make sure all 3 are completely done and ready for when I leave on my vacation. So I'll leave you with this one for now. I did film a video about sewing this slip dress that goes under my lily gown and about finishing up the crochet project for my lily gown. But since I want to reveal the finished outfit when I wear it on my cruise, I'm going to release that video when I get back. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. I hope your crafts are bringing you as much joy as mine are bringing me right now. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and check out some of my other videos. And of course, check back for future content because I'm always putting out new stuff. I'm so glad you hung around to watch with me today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!